I heard a beep and a hey, and I saw a yellow streak out of the corner of my eye, and then the bam.
So Linda Jornby looked to see what caused that bam.
It was just shocking and nerve-wracking, just to make sure the kids, nervous about the kids, to make sure they were okay.
We're all looking good. Come on.
We went out the emergency window.
Say that again. What's going on, folks?
Yeah, I got it for you. Right here. All right.
I don't want to go home.
And so began the morning for these kids who were just minutes away from school.
Boy, one way to get to school, huh?
When the bus hit, I got really scared.
Are we going too fast for you, hon? There you go, Amber. You're looking good. It's gonna be all right.
Parents just couldn't stay away.
They just said to go over to the school. There was a slight car or bus accident, and I got here that this.
Scary morning.
Police are still trying to figure out what caused this accident, but people who live in the area say this is not a safe spot. There are no traffic signals.
It's an intersection where they've had a lot of problems with cars going through very fast. I've experienced it myself.
Now they're hoping this accident forces the city to do something about the intersection.
At least put up a stop sign.
I just wanted my daughter. I just wanted my baby.
Most of the kids walked away fine, on the way to school, and no one can believe what happened.
Very good job, okay? Very proud of you.
Colleen Harry, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
Break it down from everlasting. 6,600 pounds of pennies. $10,000 should be 1,000,000 pennies. Oh Lord! My name is Bob Headley. I'm the youth director here at Our Savior's Lutheran Church in East Bethel, Minnesota.
I found 2 silvers.
This place is crazy. Wow, what would it be like to save 1,000,000 pennies? We're going to use these pennies to help our kids get to camp.
Today is really making me feel good because the kids who can't really afford to go to camp get a chance to go to camp.
It took us about 3.5 years to fill this up. We think there's about 1,000,000 pennies in there.
What do we got there? Let's see what the back of it is. This is the Bahamas.
It's a Japanese yen.
I don't think the Federal Reserve would use this kind of method in their counting and their sorting technique.
We're getting rich!
We want our kids to go to camp, and we want to make it affordable for them. And this is something that gets them all excited.
It's fun because you get to play with money, and my parents never let me play with money.
We're gonna do it! Every single one of these things matters. The penny tank, let's hear it. Penny saves, a penny earned.
Okay. Governor, I have a request. You may or may not be able to help us out, but the National Press Photographers Association is getting ready to have its 40th annual workshop in Oklahoma City, and they would be thrilled with a greeting from Minnesota's own governor. Could you just give an anniversary?
Who are they again?
It's the National Press Photographers Association.
All right. Happy anniversary, National Press Photographers Association. Keep up the good work.
How about that?
That's a one-taker, whether it worked or not.
A quiet city is a contradiction in terms. So is the Minneapolis City Hall on a holiday.
Today is President's Day.
But on this President's Day, like most holidays, that silence is broken by the sound of music. Linda Gustafson is here on her day off. She usually works for the Minneapolis Police Department, but music is her first love. Playing what is called the Carillon, 15 bells in the clock tower of City Hall, hit on a keyboard 12 stories below on holidays and special occasions.
It's the largest instrument I've ever played. It's fun to think of the huge audience you have out there.
A little patriotic, gives you a feeling of patriotism, I guess.
enjoy it.
Bells so loud they can be heard. But Edward Auld has been playing the longest. Edward is
87.
Yeah, 87.
That's right, 87 years young. He has been playing the bells at City Hall since 1924. And Edward still plays more than a dozen concerts a year.
Do I love it? Sure.
How much longer will he play?
I don't know.
And our chimes are a historical treasure of the city of Minneapolis. And you feel like not everybody gets to do it. It is a real honor.
An honor to play and a gift to hear on this President's Day.
Hawaii in January. It is a place and a time that defines the term paradise. Although even paradise has its side.
If you're supposed to be a minimum, I'm the biggest guy trying to get people out of here to begin with.
Enough of a seedy side here in paradise. That Warden Nolan Aspenda says his Honolulu prison has run out of room.
1,046 is our capacity here in this complex right here. And a count this morning is 1220.
Which means about 150 guys are forced to sleep on the floor. That means 3 prisoners in a cell designed for 1. So what does an old prison in Hawaii have to do with Minnesota? Well, a lot of things actually. About 661 on this day. That's how many Hawaiian prisoners are doing their time in the frozen prairie of Minnesota.
This is in the boonies where we at. From Hawaii, we're far from home, you know.
Jay Crisolo is doing 5 years for a Hawaii drug conviction at the Prairie Correctional Facility in Appleton, Minnesota. This private prison employs more than 300 Minnesotans. The state of Hawaii pays them to watch over nearly 700 of its prisoners.
My home, right here.
Here in the Hawaiian version of Siberia.
At home, we got a lot of mountains and stuff. I never see not one mountain.
But it's pretty cold here. Ooh. Not too much things around except for farms, they said. Yeah.
That's Jason Medeiros. He'll be doing another 9 years for armed robbery, a half an ocean and continent away from his grandmother.
Yeah, we miss seeing him for a while, but you get used to it. And he calls 2-3 times a week.
But the phone is hardly a substitute for seeing him in person.
It's only in Hawaii.
More importantly, seeing some of his personal triumphs. Like in November, when Jason not only earned his GED, he was the jailhouse version of valedictorian.
And our student speaker with the second highest score in PCF history, Jason Medeiros.
He called right afterward, I think. He was in 7th heaven.
Welcome to this year's graduation ceremony.
No, it's really something for him. It's like a miracle.
The biggest accomplishment of his life, and his mother and grandmother couldn't be here to see it.
With hard work and determination.
You might think that would make him a little resentful of the land of 10,000 lakes, but you're wrong.
No, we live real good over here compared to Hawaii.
But when he said good, he's not talking about a sauna and a jacuzzi.
3 hots in a cot.
Actually 3 people in a cell.
Warden Aspenda back in Hawaii says Jason is talking about something like a bed.
You may think it's geographically far, but a simple thing like being able to have your own bunk sometimes is pretty pleasing to them.
Although if you ask around, it is a little more than that.
For my family and myself.
This graduation ceremony and the program that got guys like Jason a GED is not something they'd get in Hawaii. And inmate Milton Marino's noted nice thing about Appleton, Minnesota.
There's a well-being check.
Minnesota nice.
Within every
staff up here, they call you gentlemen. Excuse me, sir. We don't get nothing like that back home.
We call it Minnesota nice.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful up here.
Yeah, we think so. Although, as any Minnesotan can tell you, there's just no substitute for your home state.
When we all will be going home.
Which is why, even through the blowing snow on the Minnesota prairie, these men can still see palm trees.
We'll be going home.
It's quite a sight yesterday afternoon. Witnesses tell us the building first filled with smoke and then fire. They say several explosions out the building's roof and sides. Nobody was seriously hurt, though. Channel 5 Sarah Jarvis is there now with the latest. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, John. There is a blue haze hanging over Red Wing this morning, and it's coming from the building behind me, or what's left of it, which really isn't too much. They are still waiting for the state fire marshal to arrive here. We understand he's been delayed and may not make it here at all today, but firefighters are still on the scene trying to keep those hot spots down.
Well, I'm hosing out the sidewalk from last night's fire.
Todd Hallahan has a big job ahead of him.
Oh, it looks like we got ashes here.
Quite a mess.
Yes, it is.
All left over from the fire at the abandoned grain storage building across the street. Firefighters were on the scene all night, watching to make sure the fire didn't flare up again. There's still a lot of smoke this morning. Across the tracks on the shores of the Mississippi, Harley Hayes is hoping for a bite and keeps an eye on what's left of the building behind him.
It'll smolder for a couple days, I'm sure.
I love it, love it, love it.
And Hallahan keeps working.
Oh boy, this is fun.
Wonder how they're going to get the green. I have no idea.
Nearby workers believe there was some corn stored in here, but the building is basically abandoned.
Thankfully, no one got hurt or killed or anything like that.
The fire is the talk over morning coffee.
It was just awesome to see. I mean, it was just one big fireball that shot up so high in the sky, and just frightening.
But it didn't spread to the historic district. That's a relief to everyone.
It just could have been a lot worse than what we got. I mean, what we see right now.
Now, there were some small embers that landed on the rooftops of the Riverfront Center and of the historic James Hotel about a block from here. They started small fires. Firefighters were able to put those out. But right now, they are just waiting to find out what the cause of this is. A lot of folks have been stopping by here in Red Wing this morning to take a look at the damage and to see where all the smoke is coming. It's smoldering now. John?
Okay, Sarah. Thanks a lot.
Live from KSTP TV, this is Channel 5 Eyewitness News at 6.
The state of Minnesota ordered large airplanes to fight a fire that could happen anywhere at any time up north. Emergency planners want to be ready with an air attack over this wilderness. Good evening, everyone. I'm Harris Faulkner.
And I'm Randy Meyer. Julie is off tonight. A thunder last summer pushed over millions of trees in the Boundary Waters Canoe area in northern Minnesota. Resort owners there along the Gunflint Trail are worried that all those trees will be kindling for an enormous fire. And cities like Ely are making plans to aggressively fight a fire when it begins. Channel 5's Bob McNaney got to see some of that equipment used to fight a fire that could scorch a large section of Minnesota wilderness.
Okay, do 2 drops on that jack point.
The CL-215 has one job, and that's fire. Tonight, 3 of these huge planes have arrived here in Minnesota from Canada.
There doesn't appear to be much wind out there.
In 10 seconds, the plane can scoop up 1,600 gallons of water. Up here, that means scooping out of one lake and dropping the water on a fire in less than 3 minutes.
If you can't catch it early, catch it small, you've got to back off, and then you start flanking attack, and you start trying to steer fires instead of stop them.
Don't let this fresh snowfall fool you. The DNR tells us tonight that even with the snow on the ground, conditions are so dry underneath that fire could start right now. These planes will be here for at least the next 3 months. Canadian officials have already agreed to dispatch more planes at a moment's notice.
And there's just like a big brush pile spread across the state.
We want to get there when the fire is small. And he's going to drop right on the point.
The DNR is prepared for a potentially huge fight with nature. The DNR realizes much of that battle will have to be won from the air. In Ely, Bob McNaney, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
State of Minnesota says the cost of these planes will be between $750,000 and $800,000 for the 3 months of high fire risk. Right now, the state has more than a dozen aircraft it could call to fight fires in the Boundary Waters.
When it comes to trade,
old stuff out with the old, in with the new, you know.
There's nothing like a deal.
Moving real good.
But Irene Kep's garage sale is just up the hill.
Well, the garage sale, we hope to clean out our closets. And I suppose with the president, we hope for trade.
Trade is just what's on President Clinton's mind and on Irene's mind at her garage sale.
Somebody's going to provide China with trade, so if we don't jump on it, we'll probably lose out on it, you know. That's where the president's going to be, I guess.
That's right. Irene's sale is just up the hill from where the president is speaking.
Oh, wow. That's something I would say to the president. You goofed up my garage sale.
The home of the free and the brave.
I guess, yeah, he may stop and shake our hands.
At the last minute, the president makes up for goofing up her garage sale.
Oh, there he is.
With an impromptu street-side visit. Hi, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Good to see you, Bill.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask him to your garage sale.
I don't think so.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Hi. Did you get it?
Thank you.
I did. I shook his hand. Did you get that?
Yeah, Irene, we got that. Now, it's on to more important things.
Everybody come to the garage sale.
In Shakopee, Tom Hauser, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
Today they're having a memorial for my brother. Yeah, he liked the military very much.
Air Force Colonel Laverne Riley was modest, never viewed himself worthy of much fanfare.
He'd think there was too much fuss about it. That's exactly what I think he'd say.
In the military world, it doesn't get much more formal than this. You might say this has been more than 30 years coming, because Laverne Riley and the 7 others on his aircraft had been missing since 1966.
They just shot right out of the air, shot down from ground fire, took them down.
It was over Laos during the Vietnam War, and just recently, the military found of the men. But for the relatives of Laverne Riley, what should have been relief turned out to be something of a letdown.
They never really found anything from him.
No remains, not even dog tags. But since the military was ready to close the cases of his fellow airmen, they wanted to close Riley's case as well, something his brother did in his own way years ago. This just stirs up the feelings all over again.
You kick it around and you let it aside for a long time, and then this comes up, you know, and it brings it all back.
Colonel Laverne Riley left behind a wife and 5 children when he went to Vietnam.
My nieces says, thank God for the day. It's a closure to them, you know, and that's what counts.
In this Marshall, Minnesota airplane hangar, World War II meets the new millennium.
This is basically as bare as it gets.
Back in February, it didn't look like much, but this is just the way the crew wanted it to look. A bare frame, an engine, and thousands of tiny parts.
From here we go on to making it an airplane.
It's an annual thing for Ryan Doolis, Todd Leering, and the rest of the Red Baron Mechanics crew. They rebuild at least one 1940s vintage Boeing Stearman PT-17 every year. They do it to keep the Red Baron Stearman squadron in the air.
Yeah, I put one or two of these things together. Luckily, one hasn't fallen out of the sky yet. Everything gets checked, double checked, triple checked.
Yeah, if we're not standing over each other, doing something, we're not working hard enough.
Although it's not as much work as it is a hobby that they happen to get paid for, putting together a plane and touching the past. More World War II pilots learned to fly in the Stearman than in any other airplane.
The student sat in back, and that's where a solo pilot flies from, and the instructor sat in front. And they both had a set of gauges, and so they both could see what was going on.
So while we remember the veterans this Memorial Day, Todd Kurth figures that a lot of those veterans will be remembering the plane that he's working on. He runs into a lot of those veterans at air shows.
They'll come up to you and they'll say, I trained in one of these.
The lives of all those veterans are now slowly coming to an end. Meantime, the airplane that helped define their military careers is finding new life.
Twice as old as I am. But you try and get it to look as good as you can and make it look better than it ever has. And fly twice as good.
But it takes time to go back in time. About 4 months of slicing and blowing and shrinking and stretching and cutting and screwing and bolting and gluing and painting and ironing and pounding.
You know, when this rolls out of the shop, it's essentially a brand new airplane. And we're proud of the fact that we can make it look that way.
It happened a few weeks ago. A brand new Stearman PT-17 rolled out the door. Lighter, brighter, and faster than it's ever been.
And you see it from tear down to build up, so yeah, there's no satisfaction in seeing your work fly away at the beginning of the spring.
That's probably one of the greatest thrills I get out of working here is having these things in a million pieces and seeing them take off on a maiden flight. That's pretty gratifying.
The wheels are off the ground. It's a pretty fun feeling. It's kind of like a first solo for a pilot. It's on its own after that. There he goes.
Yeah, on its own. A major piece of our military past with a brand new future. Rod Rassman, Channel 5 Eyewitness News, Marshall, Minnesota.
I've never seen this much damage except for a natural disaster. It's like a tornado went through it.
Sometime between close of business yesterday,
unbelievable,
5:30 this morning.
I mean, just looking at it, you're just kind of like in awe.
Someone turned 11 manufactured homes into 11 mutilated homes.
It's just unbelievable what they did.
It took a good wallop to do that, guys.
A good wallop from Husted Homes' own payloader. Someone got in it last night, started it up, started making a major mess.
You can see where their wheels done and just plowed forward and hit her, I don't know how fast.
Now these scrape marks you see right here tell police that the person who did this probably didn't know too much about running one of those payloaders because he couldn't figure out how to lift the bucket off the ground.
But that didn't stop them from doing about $500,000 damage here at Husted Homes. And Captain Len Smallwood says it's more than just the money.
There's a sold sign there, and I can just visualize a young couple waiting for their home to be delivered now, and it's not going to be delivered in fashion.
Part of the reason police are hoping to find the culprit in a timely fashion and try to get an answer to the question of the day. Why?
What a wanton disregard for property.
I had a sore throat and kind of headaches, you know.
A little more than a week before he was supposed to join the workforce and start his first job out of college.
So I just thought I'd take some Advil and, you know, it'd go away.
Matt Anderson joined the male majority.
This morning I woke up and my eye was swollen shut.
Men who won't go to the doctor until they really have to.
I was this wrong. It all started from a sore throat and it spread to other places in my face.
To better understand the Matt Andersons of the world, Men's Health magazine did a study asking what would get men to the doctor. A big screen TV in the waiting room, a cute receptionist, and a massage were some of the answers.
I'm a great patient.
The study also found that men would go and see the doctor if they could get in and out in about 10 minutes. Sort of like a oil change.
You already can't get men out of the garage. So you can going to the doctor, baby, I'm going to get a tune-up,
At least you'd find Glenn Edwards going to the doctor to have a look under his hood a little more often than he does.
It gets all of the unnecessary stuff out of the way. Like the waiting room. Eyes would be the headlights. The heart was the oil pump. Arms and legs, wheels. I think the patient's going to make it.
Yeah, if it was only that easy.
Brake fluid cap down and tight, wash it down and tight. Lungs are good and secure.
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe, Matt Anderson would be revving up for a new job on Monday.
Got another patient.
Instead of being in the shop with tonsillitis and a couple other infections.
Hood down and secure.
Rod Reshman, Channel 5 Eyewitness News, Robbinsdale. It's here to send people down the road to recovery from alcohol and gambling addiction. After Tuesday's storm, this treatment facility is itself riding that same road.
So as soon as I could stand up, then I looked up and there was nothing there. Then we knew that the nightmare had started.
Over here, a place for recreation. Over was administration. Now, everywhere you look, devastation.
It's just a real hard deal.
Especially hard seeing how it impacted the patients, desperate for treatment.
That was hard for me, to see him walking through the parking lot and just sobbing, saying, look at the destruction. Good things were happening for him, and now they didn't know what was going to happen.
Turnabout's board of directors was set to meet Tuesday night. Noticed a black cloud approaching.
It started to take a shape of a funnel.
Within a couple of minutes, one of the board members said, that's not a storm, that's a tornado.
It was just like what everybody says, the train sound.
It was shocking to look up and there was nothing above us.
In a matter of seconds, the tornado destroyed what took years of work, thousands of dollars in donations to build. The grand opening of 3 of these new buildings was almost exactly a year ago.
It'll be a while before Project makes a turnabout of its own and puts all these pieces back together, but after 30 years of helping others quit gambling, quit drinking, the last thing they plan to do is quit.
Which building are we talking about?
Because Administrator Phil Kelly refuses to allow his dream, so long in the making, to die quite that easily.
It'll come back. It'll take us a while, but it'll come back. The dream hasn't been lost. We just had to readjust the nightmare that happened.
Rod Rashman.
It's just stuff.
Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
It's the dream that comes.
Granite Falls.
I'm 9 years old.
And years away, you'd think, from anything more serious than playing in his basement.
Oh!
And miles away from the tragedy of strangers in Granite Falls.
We saw on TV.
Yet these were images young Trey could not forget.
Because they didn't have anything except the clothes they were.
So that very night, Trey went to his room to look for his wallet.
He handed me the money. He said, Mom, I want you to give this to somebody in Granite Falls that can use it.
Every penny he'd saved.
$58 and something change.
And so I said, are you sure? He says, no, I want him to have all of it. Down to the last penny.
He even wrote this note to his dad to read when he got home from work.
He just said, Dad, I'm giving my $58 to a family in Granite Falls.
It's empty. I don't have any money.
But to Trey, it's no big deal, really. Even though saving for a snowboard, he knew these people needed it more.
So they don't starve or suffer.
What he can't understand is why it made his mom cry.
It means a lot to me. I said, what you did was just too special. You know, I still cry now.
Hello? Or why the mayor of Granite Falls wanted to thank him.
Yes, who's this? He is my brother.
Or why his little brother wants to grow up just like him.
Because it's we give them the money to them. Oh, yes.
Because to Trey, it's not about winning or losing, but about sharing with those who have lost. Chris Patro, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.